Uh, First trade of the day for me was on COSM. Kind of the same trade that you took, Jisban. We had the pre-market high over here. We pulled in to retest it, kind of put in a nice 5-minute flag, although we did have a lot of selling pressure on this stuff candle. But overall, I was kind of watching this one since Monday because there was a lot of chatter on it on Twitter and whatnot. So I had it on my back burner all week. Got long on this pullback into here at 22.64. Risk was off 22, so very low risk trade. As soon as I get long, we start extending into 24s, and that's when I took my first piece off right into high day over here. We start consolidating here for a second on the 1 minute, but overall, we formed this nice 1 minute trend. You could see, we're slowly riding up. Every low is getting bought up, and we're pushing higher. So there's, a clear uptrend. So got long in the 22s, started taking off into 24s, took more off into 26s up here, took more off into 28s up here. And that's when I was looking for the 30 break, and I was all over it in the Goblin Gang. We were looking for the 30 break to see if we can come up and test this 30 area. Then we had our 33 pivot, and then we have our gap fill up there near 36s. That was the initial target, but we did not get that target hit. We started trading higher. We really got squeezed up into here, and I didn't end up taking off any into 33s, and that's just because I was running out of shares at the time, and I really wanted to capitalize on my last piece. I wanted to see if we got that gap fill, so then I could take my final piece off like into 35, 36s. Ultimately, that didn't happen, and when we started coming down here on the 1 minute, right when we broke trend over here at 29 cents, that's when I caught my last piece. Something I want to note on this one though is like this 10-minute trend, because I did go over 10-minute a few times. Like you could see, nice volume push up, low VPA pullback, high volume push, low VPA pullback, high volume push, and then that's when we finally had the really high volume push into 33s. But then ultimately, it ended up stuffing and selling off and bouncing off this pivot later in the day. So something I've been using on all of my trades now is the 10-minute time frame. I know I used to use it, but I kind of stopped using it. The reason I have been using it is because these trends, like, they're very, very clean. You can see, all the way from down here, if I even drag this line to the lower day area, you could see, we just rode this trend all the way up, and then when it finally broke, we got our retest, and then the move down. So 10-minute is something I think everyone should be utilizing in their charts now. It will help you stay in the trade longer, etc. Later in the day, we get the 5-minute downtrend break. I was out at the time, and JD actually alerted it at 25 cents, so shout out to him on that. But we end up coming up here and kind of forming this 5-minute flag into 28s, also holding our upper trend line here on the 5-minute, and that's where I get long at 28 cents exactly. Right away, we have a pop into 29s. I peel some off, and then fast forward later, we have our pop into 32s all the way up here. I peeled more off into 32s. I literally did not take any off into 30s. I was looking for that 30 break and push into higher day. And then right over here on this 1 minute, I started noticing that the tape was kind of shifting from bullishness to bearishness. A lot of sellers started walking in, and I was comfortable taking my last piece here at 31 cents. So that's where I cut my last piece. We were all over it in the Goblin Gang. I have some screenshots that I'll just go over instead of looking for the message. So I had the 28 average there, 27.99. You could see COSM still here, watching for 31.52 break, then 33, then 36 for gap fill. We did get 33, but we couldn't push any higher. I was out of it by then. I wasn't really too worried about it. That one was a nice 15% win from 28. And then the first trade, that was a really nice win. So when I was taking off my final piece in that area, or I'm sorry, at the 32 area, we were up 44% on the position. So one of the things I have been working on is letting the winners run. And I think I've been doing a great job at that. I'll be scaling out, as I normally would, but I really am focused on, keeping the losers small. So like I got a great average with very, very low risk, risking off 22. So I was risking about, I think it was like 5-6%, and we were able to capitalize 44% on the trade. So I think that was really, really good. This was the first 5-minute flag that I alerted in the Goblin Gang, and at the time of 28 cents, we were up 25%. Some guy in the stock chat ended up catching it from 24 to 28, so shout out to him for that. But this was a really, really nice trade. Really happy to finally get some action in the small caps. And then second trade of the day would have been on HLBZ. Played HLBZ, kind of had a 5-minute flag set up. Ended up getting stopped out of this one for a small loss. I was playing with some profits on the day, so I wasn't really too worried about it. We had a nice 5-minute flag set up. Dom had texted me and told me that, we have this nice setup over here. This volume candle kind of messed it up, but, we did get sucked up. And then I remember we had a 20 wall. It was a really, really big wall. It was like 40,000 shares. So we needed to, break through it. And, ultimately we couldn't, and we got stuffed. So on this one, I got long at 19.8, basically 20 cents, right into this candle over here. I was expecting the breakthrough 20 and, right away, expecting that push up into 25 and then 28.9 and then ultimately the highs. That didn't happen, and I kind of got stuck in this, low VPA, if you want to call it, consolidation phase. Had a dip into 19s. Didn't buy any here because, another rule that I wrote down in my notebook recently actually is not to add to losers at all. And so when this one started flipping against me, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to add to losers. My game plan was, okay, if we get the break over 20 and then retest 20, that's where I'll be comfortable adding another piece. So I think not adding another piece when I was in the red kind of helped me keep the loss way smaller than it could have been if I was adding down here. So ultimately I had this zone, drawn out, and my stop loss was below 18.95. So I was risking a little more, but I was able to risk a little more because I didn't have my full size in. So that's something I wanted to note. Ultimately, we couldn't get the 20 break. The wall was too big for us at the time. There wasn't enough buyers, and we ended up getting stuff down. And then that's when I kind of had this trend line drawn. I noticed we were forming a trend here. If you connect this low to this, and then, over here, we were kind of holding trend. Also have a 1-minute bear flag. And as soon as we broke through the bear flag right here, I cut my position at 18.9, so basically 19 cents. Didn't get any profit off on this one. It was a straight loser, kind of sat in the red the whole trade. We had a few pops, into break even, but, nothing crazy enough to break that 20-cent wall, and it is what it is. So this was a loser on the day. It was my only loser, so that's a good thing, I guess you could say. PALI was a nice one. When we broke through that, I believe it was the 0.20 area. Yeah. When we broke through 320s right here, I was looking for a 5-minute flag set up right here, even a 1-minute flag, and we just didn't get it. I remember I was looking at the 5-minute, and then I flipped over to the 1-minute, and I'm like, oh shit, like this flag was really, really nice over here. This is something that I missed. And, we just had this parabolic move, and I didn't catch anything here. I didn't want to chase it. I didn't want to, even touch it. Fast forward in the day, we kind of formed this downtrend, trade sideways. We then pop up here, and then this is the flag that I actually played. You can see nice high volume push, low VPA pullback. And I got long on this one. I'll flip over to the 1-minute. I noticed that, every time we come into this 490 area, we get slurped up. So on this candle right here, when it came into 490, I started smacking it, got filled 496 with risk off of 485. You can see this was a clear pivot over here. Ultimately, we did come down to 480s, and I was okay with that. We didn't break 485, so that was like something that kind of gave me confidence to sit in the position. Like I said, I'm trying to not add to losers or average down at all, so I didn't add any more over here. We then popped through 490s into 5. I take a small piece off at 502, take some more off at 506, and then the remaining piece of my position came off right into here at $5.20. I was on live with my buddies, and I was telling them that I think we get the move into 540s, and ultimately we did. But the reason I cut into 520s is because this candle over here really moved in like really, really quickly. It was one of those candles that move up really quickly and then flush right after. So I was like looking at that, and I'm like, ooh, I don't want to get flushed on right now, and I don't want to have to take an L on this. So once we got the pop into 520s, I scaled off my whole position. And, it ended up pulling back, into 5s, and then, pulling into 550 area. I'm 100% okay with that. I caught a little piece of the pie, you could say, and, I was happy with the gains on that. So that was the flag trade on Pally. You could see high volume push, low VPA pullback, and then stair step up. Should have noticed the volume. I feel like if I noticed the stair step, I would have been able to hold a piece and, risk off 5 maybe, or even risk off break even and capitalize on that last push into 550s. But like I said, I was happy with the gain at 520, so it is what it is. Next trade of the day for me would have been on SPY, and this was the only time I played SPY, and this was my only trade on SPY today. You could see SPY broke its uptrend here. This is when I was looking to target the 396 puts. And every time we went up to our trend line to retest it, I was getting short. So I got short on this trend break, had a nice move into 396.70s. We end up getting sucked up, and then that's when I noticed, like, okay, we're creating these lower highs, and we're also not breaking over our uptrend line that we broke below. So this is something I want to get short. You can see every time we pushed up, it was on very low volume compared to the previous volume. So I was interested in getting short over here. I ended up getting short with the, what were they? They were the 396 puts expiring on November 22, which is today. And I had about 7 contracts at, I believe it was like 40 some cents. Right away we get our pop, or well, we get our drop, not our pop, into our lower trend line over here. And on this candle right here is actually when I started covering. It was really, really quick, and something I actually did was I had limits set. So I had limits set, I believe my average was like 42. I had limits set 52, 53, and 50. And then I had one contract set at 47 just so I could take a piece off quickly. And as soon as we had this drop, my TD was just like ding, 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 ding. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm already out of the position. Didn't have any runners on this. And the reason for that was my target was this lower trend line. You could see if you connected this low to this, we kind of formed this lower trend line that, ended up acting as an uptrend. Ended up breaking this downtrend over here and ended up making the move into 400s. So I think I played it pretty well. There was a point where I was like, okay, I may have to cut this if we break over our trend line. Normally I would risk over highs, but since we were clearly making lower highs, I knew my risk was going to be defined off of this trend line. Ultimately, I was able to get out of it with a nice win, so I'm pretty happy with that. We got out for a nice 30% win. So those were pretty much, I believe, all my trades on the day. Yeah, those were all my trades on the day. Going on SPY, I should have got long on this trend line after I noticed it held, but something about me and SPY, I honestly don't like to get long. It's not really a bias or anything. It's just I feel like, I don't know, I feel like SPY, the money is to be made to the downside. People love to play it to the long side, but I don't know, that's just me. I feel like my edge with it is these trend line breaks and these lower highs, so that's just what I've been sticking to. But yeah, with that being said, those are all my trades on the day. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free, go ahead and ask. Or if you guys, have something you guys want to go over, you guys can go for it.